Hello, everyone, and welcome to Osquery Office Hours. It is now July. We're coming into the summer months here in the Northern Hemisphere, and I hope people are having a good time. First up is announcements and highlights since the last meeting. I think probably the big one is that we have cut and released 523.1, which is a security update on 523. Thank you, Zach, for doing a huge amount of the work on that. I think this fixes a pretty substantial handful of issues that various LLMs have surfaced. That is in beta now and expected to hit stable today, maybe this week.
Let's talk about it, I guess.
Yeah. Any other announcements? Okay. Any questions, issues, PRs, things people want to discuss?
I have broken the build on macOS on CI. I'm not sure why it didn't break the build before I merged. But anyway, I have a PR 8982. It's the most recent one open that fixes the build. I think it's basically a temporary fix until we upgrade Boost, which I also have an open PR for that needs to get worked on. But it'd be awesome if someone could take a look and approve that 8982. So we can get the build working again and then start merging, rebasing other PRs to get them fixed up. I have some other build and CI related PRs that I'd love to get merged because they're all just like getting mixed up and dependencies and merging and that kind of stuff. 8865, 8866, 8867, 8870. I'd like to get in really soon, but I think all of these will need to be merged, rebased onto that fix, and yeah, it would be sweet to get them done. Some of the recent changes I've done, I noticed on Linux with Ccache, even after deleting the entire build directory, I'm pretty sure it's because of Ccache. A new build with a deleted build directory took about like a minute, but that was really cool. That's not a clean build exactly because the Ccache stuff is still there, but that's like the build system having to run through every file, and I think that's due to some changes that I merged recently on the Ccache configurations and stuff. I'm hopeful that between all of these merging, it will also speed up CI, but I guess we'll see in the end.
I peek at your CI and build things occasionally, and there's always some amount of Copilot suggestions on them, and I can't quite tell what's ready for a review and what's still in flight for you. If it's easy, can you Slack a sequence of things to review, or like
yes,
whatever? Pick a channel. It doesn't matter what channel, and I'll.
Right now in the code review. How about the code review channel?
Sure.
Right now, I've got a message requesting that 8982, which will fix the CI, and then I'll start making sure that each PR is working with merged on master, and that's the request. Yeah. Hopefully, each one is pretty small and doesn't really change any functionality significantly.
So if I look at like 8982, it has some amount of Copilot reviews on it. And I have no idea if those suggestions are legit, if you care.
Yeah, so maybe
like
should we talk about like what to make of Copilot? I mean, I just sort of unilaterally enabled it recently, and certainly it has, in my eyes, generated some good PR comments. It has also generated some that are definitely incorrect. And then yes, did someone do it?
I clicky the thing.
Thank you. Um, so I guess my question is, do we want to like what do we want to set our expectations to be around Copilot? Do we want to keep using it? Um, Initially, my impression is yes, want to keep using it, but maybe we need to figure out what sort of the expectations are so that we don't run into what seems to be happening now, which is like I'm hoping for human review, Steph's waiting for addressing the Copilot comments, and then stuff.
I think my sense is the same as yours, is that like some of the things it's flagged seem pretty reasonable and worth correcting. Other ones are kind of like, I don't know, like it's right, but really, does that matter? Is that really worth another review cycle for?
Yeah,
Um, and I, you know, sort of would expect, I think it is within your jurisdiction to dismiss its suggestions or choose to accept them or
yeah.
possibly.
You can resolve. You can hit resolve. So maybe the expectation should be that like they're they're either like sort of accepted by making the change or rejected by hitting resolve.
Yeah, I'm sort of just like one of the things I don't understand, if we think about expectations, right, is we want human sign off before it merges. So for something like 8982, I haven't looked at it yet, but I assume it's pretty boring and mechanical, right? It's just like patch this to work with Boost.
Yeah,
So like I want to review it and be like, okay, does anything look real sketchy here? If not, I'll thumb it. But like, I mean, I can't actually give you real feedback on this.
yeah.
So, if I'm going to do that, I would rather do it after Copilot's done.
Hmm.
Um, and if you're like, well, this is only temporary anyhow, I don't give a shit about Copilot. I'm just going to upgrade Boost in a month, and maybe we don't think too hard. But I
Yeah,
feel like if you were actually writing like a table implementation, you might want human
yeah.
feedback before addressing all the nitty comments.
Hmm.
So I don't know how to. Maybe we just need to be clear in
Yeah, I think
back.
maybe it's like maybe on the submitter side it needs to be more like proactive about saying like I am not addressing the Copilot comments, like this is ready for human review, and maybe on the human reviewer side it needs to be like more clear about like I'm not really looking at this until the Copilot comments
Yeah,
are addressed or until you persuade me to look at it otherwise. And it seems
yeah,
like maybe we just had mismatched expectations and we're then relatively both waiting on each other.
yeah. I think that's true, and I guess like sometimes it's in the like, no, just give me a bigger, like, is this the right direction before I get into the gritty details? And other times
Right.
it's like, no, this is ready for merge. We need a gritty review now. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, cool. So I mean I think that that helps to clarify it for me and we'll just keep like
mhm,
keep sorting out these kind of things.
yeah. Um, and I mean, I imagine there's space too for us to figure out how to improve the Copilot prompting around this. Um, I'm not totally sure, but like, I think some of that probably feeds into a lot of what we saw maybe in the security stuff. Is I think that the LLMs don't understand the underlying security models yet. The
Mm,
Osquery security model, or like what's dangerous or what isn't dangerous. And
yeah.
I think it's a little bit on us to improve our documentation, both for humans and robots.
Yeah. And I don't know when I configured it that it gave me an option to sort of like supplement the prompt. But that is something that we certainly could investigate. I think it was basically just a sort of binary on off.
I thought I saw somewhere for prompting, but maybe I was like looking at the agent
Mm,
feature and not the Copilot feature. So I'm not sure. Anyhow, I will review 89, 82, and we can just try and be more clear about what the state of things are.
sounds good. Shall we talk about the 5.23.1 release?
Sure.
Yeah, so Fleets deployed it. We deployed it briefly to our Edge channel and then just pushed it to our stable channel because we wanted to see the security updates get out there, and we thought that there were not really that many significant of changes. So we've been, I think, almost a week now running it in our stable channel, which means a significant portion of our customers have heard reports of issues. Ultimately, because of that, like we've, I think, pretty well protected our customers. But I think that it would be good for Osquery to call it stable so that it becomes the default that people are installing.
Collide has not pushed this to stable, but we still haven't pushed 5.23 to stable because of the Sentinel-1 impact on some of our customers. So we are still working through resolving that one. We have this at our alpha channel right now. It's pretty small, but no issues. I would be supportive of calling this stable.
Okay, cool. Let's do that then. Shall I do the steps?
Sure. I think they're even all written down still.
Just gotta figure out where that is. They're written down.
Bottom of contributing.md, I think.
Oh, you're a hero. Thank you. Can you fill up? Yeah, so I am marking that release stable and kicking off the website and release to buckets and etc.
Okay. The website, my memory is the current state on the website actions is the action will fail, but it'll still create the PR. So
Okay.
it's
Okay.
GitHub actions. It's a thing. Yeah. That's everything on our agenda right now. I don't know if anyone wants to raise anything else. I think there are probably still some Mythos reported things lurking in our friends' hands that have not made it into our awareness yet. And then I know I had some LLM brokered security PRs that didn't pass CI, so needed work, and I haven't picked that work up again. I don't know if there's anything else floating around in that realm right now. Anything else people want to talk about?
I'm curious what the Sentinel-1 issue you were seeing is with 5.23.
5.23 changes the way we read certificates. So
on macOS.
On macOS. So to get around an app bug
So of course
that causes certificate corruption, Osquery copies the certificate, copies the keychain, and then reads the copy. This copying the keychain triggers Sentinel-1 heuristics for malware, which then causes Sentinel-1 to quarantine the entire call stack or process tree, really.
Yeah, and I think we discussed this more extensively in office hours maybe 4 or 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a
So feel free to have a look at the notes and recording from that. There's also an issue in the repo, which has some more cursory information.
yeah. The reality is, I just don't think there's a good answer here. Like either we do things that make Sentinel-1 unhappy, or we corrupt the keychain, or we don't expose data. So
Can't Sentinel-1 add a exception or something that recognizes that specifically Osquery doing it is acceptable
so
to their heuristics?
any Sentinel-1 administrator can certainly do that for their site. Presumably, Sentinel-1 could do that for their entire product, though I don't think any of us work for Sentinel-1 or have visibility into what that process looks
Fair.
like.
Yeah, we tried speaking with someone at Sentinel-1, and they basically said, like, sorry, yeah, the Sentinel-1 admin should just allow us this.
That's such a okay.
I mean, this is just like the perennial issue with EDR vendors.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Osquery runs into this kind of thing every couple of years. And I do believe that EDR vendors should take better responsibility for these issues, but I
Are there other things people might like to talk about? If not, we can certainly break a bit early. Zach, I think
I guess the
you go.
I was going to say where are we at on 6.0?
I was about to ask that. I think probably Zach wants to get all of the build things he has in, and then we'll call it 6.0.
Yeah, I need to get all the build stuff in, and then there's like some feature related stuff that I might like to get in, but I definitely want to see all the build stuff get done because that was like a big part of the premise of calling it 6.0 was just the way that we're changing the tool chain and builds. And
What was
so there, we were just talking about the status of those PRs. I think that a lot of them are relatively ready to go. There might be like some sequencing and emerging large conflict kind of issues.
what was going on with BPF?
BPF, I have a sort of working POC. Would be sweet if I finished it in time to get it in, but I don't think it's a strict requirement.
So if we don't get into and have we removed the old BPF support?
Yes,
So
as we said we would.
As we said we would, absolutely. So that potentially puts us into a place where like 6.0 drops BPF support and 6.1 brings it back.
Could be. Ideally, there's just a new BPF implementation in 6.0. I guess it's just a question of like how eager are people to get it out.
I'm just thinking about it from like a customer perspective. If someone thought they needed BPF functionality, then it puts them in skipping 6.0. But maybe that's a fine state of the world, right? It's sort of like the old BPF implementation ended in 5, and a new one will show up somewhere in this 6.0, 6.1, 6.2 time frame.
What in OS what in BPF what am I trying to ask? What functionality are we using in Osquery that requires BPF?
So is the BPF backed process and socket auditing? Because historically, Osquery used the audit backed version, and that had various issues. So we built the BPF implementation, or Alessandro did, using like older BPF
super old.
strategies, I guess.
It wasn't old
Private
when he built it.
APIs? Private APIs
No,
in
No,
BPF?
just old style, like the original eBPF implementation.
Okay.
And there's kind of new ways of doing things and new intermediate libraries. There's sort of more modern semantics and tools for working with BPF, eBPF.
So
Yes.
yeah,
We
and
were
this also was
targeting
discussed in.
3.10.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alessandro. Couldn't
No,
hear
sorry, I
you.
was just saying that we were targeting 3.10, the kernel, that originally didn't have BPF, but Red Hat backported it from a half-working implementation. So we had a lot of limitations and weirdness there.
Hmm.
We were also tracing at the syscall level, correct, Alessandro? Not inside
Yes,
the
because we
kernel.
didn't have all the trace points that we had now. And yes, we had to use kprobs and kretprobs, which are not fun. You're going to lose a lot of events with kretprobs, even on modern kernels.
And ultimately, there were issues with upgrading the tool chain, using that older strategy for doing BPF, and that was a big motivator for wanting to remove that. So the tool chain upgrades that were merged now, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, remove the old BPF implementations so that we're able to upgrade the tool chain. And then I'm working on new BPF functionality, which uses like BPF tool and libbpf.
I think we always dreamed of having like customer exposed BPF configuration, BPF driven tables, but we never and admin exposed that. I don't think we ever quite made that work.
I had a prototype, but yeah, we never ended up building that as a product. But yeah, it was the entire reason for, like, the old implementation was working. I built it. Basically, I rebuilt a mini BCC that would use libclang and libllvm to let you instantiate probes on the fly. And yeah, the idea was to have user configurable BPF tables.
Maybe in the next version.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I might revisit this in the future.
There was a lot of neat stuff, but the Linux kernel changed everything after Alessandro wrote it. So
Yeah. Is there functionality that we want in the Linux kernel to make this easier?
Things that we need to add? No, it's on our end. Like all the plumbing is there. We just have to rewrite our implementation.
I mean,
Okay.
they could not have changed it. But
Well,
I think
usually
That ship has sailed
No,
since
the
like
change-
V4, right?
No, just to clarify, like the change they did, it's actually an improvement because they provided more, better, more hook points, but also the whole BTF symbols, which permits you to. So, like the original implementation had to trace the syscalls because we could not hook into the kernel, because then we would have to rebuild, like every time the kernel changed, would change on the machine where Osquery was installed, the probe might not have worked again. So yeah, the syscall were stable while hook points that are inside the kernel are unstable. But with BTF, you can do better things. And also with the tools provided right now with BCC.
I mean, it
Sure.
didn't break due to updates, and I mean, you could port it to the newer So it was clashing with the toolchain update because they changed how get element PTR works in LLVM in the IR, and I was building IR manually from the trace point definitions, but it is not worth it because the method I had to use for kernel 3.10 makes it really brittle once you have enough activity. Like you could port it, but on anything, especially if the workload and modern workloads use them as containers, it will fall apart. It will not be able to keep up with the activity. So
the new, yeah, and the new implementation ends up looking fairly clean. So I think that, you know, I'm pleased with that. I'm not an expert on BPF, so I will hope to get some review from particularly Alessandro or anyone else who's got more knowledge and opinions. But it seems reasonable to me what I've seen.
I certainly have built tooling. Stefano and we have built tooling to stress test and verify the ground truths, and we can maybe take a look at the final implementation.
There is a draft PR up for this. It is number 8743. If anyone's curious, I'll drop it in the chat. Here.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I ask about it because our Linux kernel developers were reviewing some BPF stuff in a different area and are finding that several security vendors are using, or several security products are using APIs that are considered private to the kernel, that they were wondering if security tools need a proper public API for something, and what the functionality is that's needed, what their end goal is with the stuff, so that a proper endpoint can be built that doesn't break between kernel versions. But it sounds like this didn't break between kernel versions. It broke due to our own tool chain changes.
I would say that BPF is like, you can make it. I mean, the old BPF implementation still works if you just update the toolchain properly. The breakage is not in the kernel, the breakage is in the toolchain.
Okay.
It stopped working because I was going through what Clang does on its own when you translate. Like, I started from a DSL defining the probe, and from there I synthesized the program using a class in LLVM, which is called IR Builder, where you build the intermediate representation and then you lower it to bytecode, basically a compiler. It didn't break due to the kernel, and it didn't break due to Linux, APIs changing. It broke due to the updates in the toolchain. But the real problem here is that BPF was not made for this. It was built for debugging. And that means that, sure, you can trace many things in the kernel, but you cannot trace things losslessly, which is the very first problem. And also, you don't have the, how do you call them? You attach BPF against functions. Like, I don't know, like a watch point in GDB. And that's the real problem, like not having a stable point that you can trace that will give you everything you need in a stable way. And so you end up, when you have a trace point, that's the best approach. You can use that. But in many of the cases, you don't. And you end up trying to build an event from different probes and trace points that as some sort of pipeline using intermediate buffers, let's say, called maps. You gather all the parts and then emit the final event. And the most brittle part is this one, not being able to trace things losslessly. Like you cannot take a binary path without losing parts of it, because there's no, like, either you allocate a huge buffer, but then you can still be unlucky, right? If you nest many folders inside, you can have an arbitrary size path, and you're gonna cut it at some point and lose data. And then you're gonna waste a lot of memory if you have this huge buffer to account for this kind of problems. So that is the first problem. And the second problem is the many functions that you have to trace to try and gather your events. So yeah, I guess it stems from the origin of BPF. It was built for debugging, not for all the other million use cases that people had to use BPF for, because there was no other alternative. Like ideally, you would have one-on-one mapping of whatever Mac is exposing, like endpoint security, or Windows is exposing, and not have to rely on BPF, which was built to avoid wasting cycles when debugging things. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. So we are left with BPF, and I don't think it can be. I love BPF, but yes, it is for debugging. I don't think you can build an EDR service that is lossless.
If you have a clear idea of what you want from the Linux kernel that would provide your end goal, our Linux kernel developers are willing to help on this. They've said that point blank to other security vendors. They would love to collaborate with security vendors to provide a proper mechanism through the kernel to provide what security vendors are wanting to do, instead of doing stuff in eBPF or doing stuff in ways that make it harder to support kernels, etc. over time. So if what we're really trying to solve is we want a better audit trail of process events, that's something where we may be able to help get that delivered.
I think we can probably say that, right? Like, what is Osquery actually trying to do is what you're asking. What is our end goal? And I think our end goals are process events. Exactly which ones, I don't know. I'll defer to other folks, but like process events, file integrity monitoring. That's always a big one. I think we're predominantly using the iNotify systems for that. I don't know what other security vendors do. I don't know if that's a thing that could be in scope. Network events is probably another one. At various points in time, people have wanted ways of getting what is it, the JA3, JA4 signatures for all network events, but you can't do that right now without dropping into promiscuous mode, which isn't really something that Osquery wants to mandate to the kernel. So I think probably those are like the three eventing systems that come up.
What the?
Yeah.
You lost me on the JA whatevers. What are the JA3 and JA4 that require promiscuous?
I think you're talking about it's like a hashing scheme for network connection information.
So JA4 was the idea of fingerprinting all network connections, so you can have cross correlation ability across security vendors and stacks. And it uses a fingerprint based on source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port. So To
Okay.
get that information as a user space, like in the Osquery domain, you effectively have to drop into promiscuous mode. I don't know, like inside a kernel, there's probably better options since inside the networking stack. So like how, it'd be interesting to be able to get the stream of networking information and network events, connections, etc., with JA4 signatures on them. That might be possible in BPF today. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the primary question is, can you do it losslessly? Like even, yeah, the key question is, can you get a binary path losslessly, regardless of who the calling process is? And that will chain to many other different problems that need solving.
Okay. Process events, file integrity events, and network events.
Yeah. Are there any other events?
I think those
No.
are the
Really?
most important ones. But yeah, honestly, I would honestly take a look. Like if you have people that are interested in working on this, I would honestly start looking at something like endpoint security, because that is well written, it works well, and already solves all the problems.
The MacOS
You're
framework.
talking about a Mac, yeah.
Yes.
MacOS framework also has some interesting hooks for blocking process execution.
Yeah, that is really, really nice.
Yeah, there's read-only and read-only subscriptions and then actual interference.
Okay.
I guess another problem could be that people, in my experience, I've seen people welcome BPF, even if it is super lossy, because that way they can avoid having kernel drivers that always break and fall apart. Usually, when you update, you have to run AK mod or whatever you're using to rebuild them. And that's why many vendors, in my experience, just force you to use older kernels. Endpoint security lets you do that from user mode. I wouldn't know how this could be ported to Linux, but if you have people that are really looking forward to working on this, endpoint security, I think, is the best module to start from.
Okay.
I'm not sure endpoint security is entirely user space, because a lot of those functions do require explicit Apple sign-off so that you can go play with that framework. So
That's true.
I mean, they
was
require
yeah,
they require an entitlement that only Apple can grant. But
yeah, it feels like it starts stepping a little bit into the kernel space as well. There's like Apple maintains a bridge there.
yeah.
I think Osquery does actually have some of those entitlements. So, people want to play. I think we can.
But I mean, on the yes, Osquery has the entitlement. But of course, like on Linux, Apple's got their own philosophies on who's allowed to do what on Linux. I think it's more reasonable that it is just allowed if you have root level instances.
Yeah, though I don't know that Linux has ever really embraced the security vendors and sort of things like what would it be like to have a Santa style endpoint security framework. I feel like that's a little bit against some of the Linux ethos, which is why you often end up seeing security vendors shipping their own kernel modules.
That would be a bonus, but I guess what I was just saying is having the possibility of connecting to that API via user mode. so that if you're, because that's, in my experience, working here at Bits, one of the main problems is what if the kernel driver crashes? If endpoint security, the consumer crashes, it will not bring down the entire system. But yeah, that would be an additional, really welcomed step if that is at all possible.
Okay. I've sent the info over to the developer that we were talking with in the past about it.
Thanks, Philip. Side note, Seth, I just pushed a PR that I think will fix the website release update logic. Maybe you can take a look.
I will. I saw the ping on Slack. I'm sure it's
Okay,
simple. I
thanks.
just haven't ever dug into it.
Yeah, and it as far as I could tell, it didn't open the PR because of whatever that issue was. I'm not sure
Oh,
what you
it
would have done to
creates a
make it work.
branch, and then you could manually open the PR.
Oh, I see.
what it is.
Okay.
Sorry, when you say that, it jogged my memory. So there's
Okay.
almost certainly a branch, and you could just go and create the PR manually.
Okay. Yes, I do see the branch. Thank you. But I think this may fix it, so hopefully it does.
Okay. Anything else people want to talk about, or should we call that a day? Okay.
And calling it a day.
Well, pleasure seeing everyone and chatting. Zach, huge thank you for all of the work you're doing right now.
Thank you.
And I will talk to you all in 2 weeks.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
And we're turning off the recording.